The restaurant buzzed with conversation, but all I heard was Maggie's laugh. Sharp, mocking, cutting through everything else. I just told her about losing my job at TechVision Industries, hoping for sympathy from my younger sister. Instead, she nearly choked on her wine. "You're serious?" she said, wiping her eyes. "They actually let you go?" I nodded, feeling my face burn. I was 52, a senior manager for 15 years, and suddenly disposable. Maggie leaned back, smirking. "I hate to say it, Jack, but you never got anywhere without Dad's connections anyway." Her words hit like a punch to the stomach. Other diners glanced our way, probably wondering why this woman was being so cruel. I tried to respond, but my throat felt tight. "That's not fair," I managed weakly. She waved her hand dismissively. "Come on. We both know you've been coasting for years. This was bound to happen." I stared at my untouched food, humiliation washing over me. This was my sister, someone who should support me. Instead, she looked almost pleased. I drove home in silence, Maggie's words echoing in my head. When I walked through the door, my wife Alice looked up from her book. "How did it go?" she asked gently. I told her about Maggie's reaction, expecting outrage on my behalf. Instead, Alice set down her book and sighed. "Jack, maybe this is a sign," she said carefully. "You've had a good run. Maybe it's time to think about early retirement." I felt betrayed all over again. "I'm 52, not 72, I said, my voice rising. She reached for my hand. "I just mean you've been stressed for years. Maybe this is a chance to rest." But I didn't want rest. I wanted validation, support, someone to believe in me. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Both my sister and my wife seemed convinced my career was over. Maybe they were right. Maybe I had been coasting, relying on old connections and outdated skills. The thought terrified me. I defined myself by my work for decades. Without it, who was I? The next morning, I opened my laptop with determination. I wouldn't give up without a fight. I spent hours updating my resume, polishing every bullet point, highlighting every achievement. Then I started applying dozens of positions across the tech industry. Days turned into weeks. My inbox filled with polite rejections, or worse, complete silence. The few interviews I secured ended quickly. I could see in their eyes. I was too old, too expensive, too set in my ways. One interviewer, barely 30, actually asked if I was comfortable with modern technology. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I smiled and assured him I was. He didn't call back. One evening, my old friend Ted came over for dinner. He'd been through similar struggles years ago. "Jack, you can't let this break you," he said, pouring whiskey. "Sometimes the path forward means swallowing your pride." I knew what he meant. Maybe I needed to aim lower, start smaller, work my way back up. The next day, I applied for a junior position at TechVision. They rejected me without explanation. Meanwhile, Maggie's career soared. She posted constantly on social media. Photos from corporate events, articles about her promotion to senior director, quotes about success and ambition. Each post felt like a personal attack. "Grateful for this incredible journey," one caption read. "Hard work always pays off." I knew she was thinking of me when she wrote that, at a family barbecue. She held court, telling everyone about her latest achievement. "The company basically created this role for me," she said, glowing with pride. Our parents beamed. Our mother pulled me aside later. "Why can't you be more like Maggie?" she asked quietly. The words stung worse than anything Maggie had said. I left early, claiming a headache. In my car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. This wasn't just about finding a job anymore. It was about proving Maggie wrong, about showing everyone who dismissed me that I still had value. I just needed one chance, one opportunity to show what I could do. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. TechVision was offering me a 6-month contract position to help with a major project rollout. It wasn't permanent, and the pay was less than half my old salary, but it was something. I called Alice, excited for the first time in months. "That's wonderful," she said, though I detected hesitation in her voice. "Is it permanent?" I admitted it wasn't, but it's a foot in the door. If I do well, maybe they'll bring me back full time. She was silent for a moment. Just don't get your hopes up too high. I tried not to let her doubt dampen my excitement. That evening, I reviewed everything I could find about the project. It was a major system integration, combining several platforms into one seamless interface. Complex, technical, exactly the kind of challenge I'd thrived on years ago. I stayed up late making notes, planning my approach. For the first time since losing my job, I felt purpose returning. This was my shot. I couldn't waste it. My first day back at TechVision felt surreal. I walked through the lobby I'd crossed 1,000 times before, but now I felt like an outsider. My new manager, Diane, greeted me warmly but professionally. She introduced me to the team, all younger, all confident in their modern methods. During the first meeting, I shared an idea based on my experience. One of the younger developers, Kyle, actually laughed. "That's pretty old school thinking," he said. Others nodded in agreement. I felt my face flush. They moved on quickly, discussing approaches I barely understood. Afterward, I overheard two team members whispering near the coffee machine. "Can you believe they brought back Jack?" one said. "Guy's like a dinosaur." The other laughed. "Give it a month. He'll be gone." I pretended not to hear, but their words burned. That night, I worked until midnight, studying new frameworks and methodologies. If they thought I couldn't adapt, I'd prove them wrong. I had to prove them wrong. Failure wasn't an option anymore. 3 weeks into the project, disaster struck. The integration test kept failing, and nobody could figure out why. The team spent days debugging, growing increasingly frustrated. I studied the error logs carefully, comparing them to similar projects I'd worked on years ago. Then I saw it. A small but critical configuration error buried deep in the system architecture. The younger developers had overlooked it because they relied too heavily on automated testing. I documented my findings and presented them in the next team meeting. Kyle looked skeptical. "That doesn't make sense," he said. "The automated scans would have caught that." I walked him through it step by step. When we implemented my fix, the system worked perfectly. The room went quiet. Diane smiled at me, genuinely impressed. "Good catch, Jack. That could have cost us millions." Kyle mumbled an acknowledgement, but I saw respect in his eyes now. For the first time since returning, I felt like I belonged. My old skills weren't obsolete. They were valuable in ways a younger team hadn't considered. After that breakthrough, things shifted. Diane started asking for my input more frequently. The team members who dismissed me now sought my advice on complex problems. I realized I had an advantage. I understood both the old systems and the new approaches. I could bridge the gap between them. But I also noticed something else. Diane's boss, Jim, was making poor decisions. He'd pushed for shortcuts that compromised system security. He'd ignored warnings about scalability issues. His choices were putting the entire project at risk, but nobody seemed willing to challenge him. I started documenting everything: emails, meeting notes, decision trails. I also began building relationships across the company, quietly reconnecting with old colleagues, making new allies. I didn't make noise about it. I just worked consistently, delivered results, and showed up prepared for every meeting. Slowly, methodically, I was rebuilding my reputation. People started remembering why they'd valued me before. I was positioning myself for something bigger, though I didn't know exactly what yet. Family dinner at our parents' house felt like walking into enemy territory. Maggie arrived late, making a grand entrance in designer clothes. She dominated the conversation, talking endlessly about her latest success. "They're sending me to the Singapore office for 6 months," she announced, pretty much running the Asia-Pacific expansion. Everyone congratulated her. Then she turned to me. "And what about you, Jack? Still doing that contract thing?" Her tone was condescending, pitying. I kept my voice steady. "The project's going well, making good progress." She laughed. "Contract work at your age. That must be hard." Our mother actually agreed with her. "Jack, surely you could find something more permanent?" I wanted to defend myself, to tell them about my breakthrough, about how the team now respected me. But what was the point? They'd already decided I was a failure. I excused myself early, claiming work in the morning. As I drove home, anger replaced hurt. Maggie thought she was untouchable, that her success was permanent. I'd show her otherwise. The call came from Diane on a Friday afternoon. "Can you come to my office?" Her voice sounded serious, and my stomach dropped. Had I done something wrong? When I arrived, she was smiling. "Jack, I need to talk to you about something confidential." She closed the door and sat down. "Jim's being let go. The board finally realizes decisions have been damaging the company." I tried to look surprised, though I'd suspected this was coming. Diane continued, "We're restructuring the leadership team. The chief operating officer position is opening up, and your name is in consideration." I couldn't breathe. "Cool." That was executive level, far beyond what I dared hope for. "I don't understand," I stammered. Diane leaned forward. "You've proven yourself these past months. You have the experience, the technical knowledge, and the respect of the teams. We need someone who can actually lead." She handed me a folder. "Think it over this weekend. We'll discuss details Monday." I walked out in a daze. This was everything I'd wanted: validation, redemption, a chance to show everyone who doubted me. The weekend passed in a blur of excitement and anxiety. I researched the COO role extensively, prepared questions, even practiced answers to potential interview questions. Alice seemed genuinely happy for me, though she cautioned me not to count on anything until it was official. Monday morning, I arrived early, ready for my meeting with Diane. But when I walked past her office, I saw someone unexpected inside. Maggie. My heart stopped. What was she doing here? I ducked into a conference room and called Ted. "What's wrong?" he asked immediately. I explained what I'd seen. He was quiet for a moment. "Jack, you need to find out what's going on. Don't assume the worst, but protect yourself." I spent the day in agony, watching Maggie and Diane have multiple meetings. By afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I knocked on Diane's door. "Can we talk?" Her expression was guilty. "Jack, sit down. There's been a development." My stomach sank. Upper management wants to bring in someone with broader industry experience. Maggie's been recommended by the board. I felt like I'd been punched. "But you said I was being considered." Diane looked uncomfortable. You are. But Maggie has connections in the industry that the board values. They think she can open doors." I understood immediately. It wasn't about merit or capability. It was about networks and relationships, exactly what Maggie had always relied on. "So that's it? She just swoops in and takes a position?" Diane sighed. "I fought for you, Jack, but the decision came from above me." I left her office feeling hollow. That evening, I called Ted and told him everything. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," I said bitterly. "Maggie wins again because of who she knows, not what she can do." Ted was quiet for a long moment. "Jack, listen to me. This isn't over. Maggie's gotten positions before based on connections, but she's never had to actually deliver results at this level. Give it time." His words gave me a small spark of hope. Maybe this wasn't defeat. Maybe it was just the next chapter. 2 weeks later, I got another call from Diane. "Jack, we need you to do a presentation to the Stratton Corporation Board. They're our biggest potential client, and if we land this contract, it could transform the company." My pulse quickened. "Why me?" She smiled slightly. "Because you're the only one who truly understands both the technical side and the business implications. This is high stakes, Jack. If you nail this, you'll prove your value beyond any doubt." I had 1 week to prepare. Maggie, now officially the COO, made her presence felt immediately. She attended every planning meeting, making subtle digs about my presentation style. "Maybe try to sound less technical," she suggested once. "These are business people, not engineers." I ignored her and focused on my work. The night before the presentation, I rehearsed until 2 a.m. When I finally stood before the Stratton board, I was ready. I walked them through our proposal with confidence, answering every question, addressing every concern. When I finished, the room was silent. Then the CEO stood up and extended his hand. That was exactly what we needed to hear. "You got yourself a deal." The Stratton contract was massive, $15 million over 3 years. The announcement made waves throughout the industry. Diane called me to her office the next day. "Jack, that was extraordinary. You've single-handedly secured the company's future." She paused. "We're reevaluating the leadership structure. Your performance is being noticed at the highest levels." Over the following weeks, everything changed. Colleagues who'd been distant now sought my advice. Even the younger team members showed genuine respect. I became Diane's most trusted advisor, the person she turned to for critical decisions. Meanwhile, Maggie struggled. As COO, she was expected to deliver results, but her lack of deep technical knowledge became obvious. She made decisions based on surface-level understanding, and projects began running into problems. I watched from my position, saying nothing, just continuing to do excellent work. The internal politics shifted. People started questioning whether Maggie was a right choice for COO. I heard whispers in hallways, saw doubtful glances in meetings. The foundation of her authority was cracking. The power struggle between Maggie and me became obvious to everyone. She tried to sideline me, assigning me to less visible projects, excluding me from important meetings. But it backfired. The project she led without my input consistently underperformed. Meanwhile, everything I touched succeeded. One particular clash happened during a board presentation. Maggie proposed a major system overhaul that would have cost millions. I quietly pointed out 3 fatal flaws in her plan: security vulnerabilities, scalability issues, and integration problems. The board listened to my concerns. Maggie's face turned red. "Jack is being overly cautious," she insisted. "Sometimes you need to take risks to move forward." But I had data, documentation, clear evidence supporting my position. The board sided with me. Maggie stormed out after the meeting. Later, I received an email from the CEO. "Thank you for your candid assessment. We need more of that level of critical thinking at the executive level." I forwarded it to Ted, who responded with a simple message: "Told you to be patient." The tide was turning. Maggie's mistakes accumulated. A client she'd personally courted pulled out after she misrepresented our capabilities. A product launch she'd championed flopped because she hadn't involved the technical teams early enough. Her initiatives consistently fell short of projections. I watched her reputation crumble in real time. The confident, arrogant woman who'd laughed at my job loss now looked stressed and defensive in every meeting. Board members started directing questions to me instead of her. Meanwhile, I continued my steady approach: deliver results, build relationships, demonstrate competence. I didn't need to attack Maggie. Her own actions were undermining her. One afternoon, Diane pulled me aside. "The board is concerned about Maggie's performance. They're asking questions about succession planning." I kept my expression neutral. "I'm sure they'll figure out what's best for the company." But inside, I felt vindication rising. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd endured, was leading to this moment. Maggie was falling, and I was rising to take her place. Desperate to save her position, Maggie made a catastrophic move. She tried to frame me for a series of project delays and cost overruns. She doctored emails, manipulated timelines, and presented falsified reports to board claiming I'd sabotaged her initiatives. When I was called into an emergency board meeting, I knew something was wrong. Maggie was there, looking confident, presenting her evidence against me. The board members looked concerned as they reviewed her documents. Then I opened my laptop. I've been documenting everything for months. Original emails with full headers and timestamps, meeting recordings, project logs, budget approvals. One by one, I disproved her claims, showing exactly when and how she'd altered the evidence. The room grew silent as the board realized what they were seeing. Maggie's face went pale. "This is ridiculous," she tried to defend herself. "Jack is obviously trying to discredit me." But the evidence was overwhelming. The CEO's expression turned cold. "Maggie, this is extremely serious. We need to discuss this privately." The meeting ended abruptly. I was dismissed, but Maggie was asked to stay. The company-wide meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. Everyone knew something major was happening. When I entered the conference room, Maggie was already there, sitting in the back, avoiding eye contact. The CEO stood at the front, looking serious. "Thank you all for coming. We're announcing significant leadership changes." He explained that after careful review, the board had lost confidence in the current CEO's performance and ethical standards. Maggie was being asked to resign, effective immediately. The room erupted in whispers. Then the CEO continued. "We're promoting Jack Harrison to Chief Executive Officer, effective next Monday." I heard the words but couldn't quite process them. CEO? Not just COO, but the top position in the company? The CEO continued. "Jack has demonstrated not only exceptional technical knowledge and business acumen, but also integrity and leadership under pressure. He's exactly what this company needs." People applauded. I stood up, shaky, and made my way to the front. Maggie rushed out before I could reach her. I gave a brief speech, thanking the team, promising to lead with honesty and competence. As I spoke, I saw respect in every face. My first week as CEO was overwhelming but exhilarating. I moved into the corner office, assembled my leadership team, and began implementing changes I'd been planning for months. I focused on rebuilding the company culture, improving communication between departments, and investing in both new technology and experienced talent. Alice was thrilled. "I'm so proud of you," she said, hugging me tight. "I'm sorry I ever doubted you." My parents called to congratulate me, though I could hear confusion in their voices. They'd spent so long believing Maggie was a successful one. The next family gathering was awkward. Maggie didn't attend, sending excuses about being busy. My mother kept asking questions about what had happened, clearly getting Maggie's version of events. "She says you sabotage her," my mother said carefully. I didn't get angry. I simply explained the truth, that Maggie had tried to frame me and got caught. My father looked shocked. I had no idea she would do something like that. For the first time, I felt they were seeing me clearly, seeing both of us clearly. My promotion made industry headlines. TechVision names Jack Harrison as new CEO, ran in every major tech publication. Interviews flooded in. I accepted carefully selected opportunities, using them to share my story. Not as revenge, but as encouragement to others who'd faced similar setbacks. In one interview, I was asked directly about Maggie. "Your sister was COO before you became CEO. That must create family tension." I chose my words carefully. Business is about results and integrity. Personal relationships can't factor into leadership decisions. The board made the choice they felt was right for the company. Professional, measured, but the implication was clear. The company flourished under my leadership. Within 3 months, we landed 2 more major contracts, improved employee satisfaction scores, and stabilized our stock price. Board meetings that had once been contentious became collaborative. I brought in experienced advisors, people who'd been overlooked because they didn't fit someone's image of what a modern executive should look like. I proved that wisdom and experience mattered as much as youth and connections. The day I stood on stage at the industry conference, announcing TechVision's new direction, felt surreal. Cameras flashed. Hundreds of people listened to every word. I talked about sustainable growth, ethical leadership, and the value of experience combined with innovation. I mentioned, briefly, carefully, that I'd faced rejection and doubt. A year ago, I was unemployed, being told I was obsolete. I said, "Today, I'm leading one of the industry's most innovative companies." The lesson isn't about revenge or proving people wrong. It's about believing in yourself when others don't. The audience gave a standing ovation. Afterward, dozens of people approached me with their own stories of career setbacks and comebacks. As I left the stage, I spotted someone in the back of the auditorium. Maggie. Our eyes met across the crowded room. She didn't look angry anymore, just tired and defeated. She turned and left before I could react. That evening, I received a text message from an unknown number. "You won. Congratulations." I knew it was her. I didn't respond. A month later, my phone rang. It was Maggie. "Can we talk?" Her voice was quiet, nothing like the confident tone I'd known my whole life. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She looked different, less polished, more human somehow. "I need to apologize," she started. "What I did was wrong." The framing, the lies, all of it. I was desperate and scared, and I made terrible choices. I listened without interrupting. She continued, "You were right about everything. I got positions because of connections, not merit. I never had to really prove myself until TechVision, and when I had to, I couldn't deliver." Her honesty surprised me. "Why are you telling me this?" She looked down at her coffee. "Because I need to own what I did, and because I'm sorry for laughing when you lost your job. That was cruel, and you didn't deserve it." I appreciated her apology, but something had fundamentally changed between us. "Thank you for saying that," I replied carefully, "but things can't go back to how they were." She nodded. "I know. I just wanted you to know I realize now what you've always been, someone who earned everything through real work." As CEO, I established new programs focused on what I called second chance leadership. We created pathways for experienced professionals who've been pushed aside by age discrimination. We implemented mentorship programs pairing young talent with seasoned experts. The results were remarkable. Within 6 months, our innovation metrics improved dramatically. It turned out that combining fresh perspectives with deep experience created something powerful. I made sure to recognize people who'd helped me during my darkest times. Ted got consulting contracts with the company. Diane was promoted to Chief Operating Officer. Even Kyle, the young developer who'd once mocked me, became a project lead under my leadership. One day, a journalist asked me, "Do you see your sister's failure as part of your success story?" I thought carefully before answering. "No, my success stands on its own merit. Her failure was her own doing. They're separate stories that happen to intersect." The truth was, I'd stopped defining my journey by Maggie's reactions long ago. Maggie found work eventually, but at a much lower level than before. I heard through family that she'd taken a mid-level position at a smaller firm. She stayed off social media, kept a low profile. Part of me felt bad for her, but I also recognized that she'd built her career on sand and the tide had finally come in. At a family dinner 6 months after my promotion, we saw each other for the first time since the coffee shop meeting. The atmosphere was tense initially. Then Maggie approached me. "The company looks great under your leadership," she said quietly. "I've been following the news." There was genuine respect in her voice. No sarcasm, no hidden barbs. "Thank you," I replied. We didn't become close again. Too much had happened, but we reached an understanding. A careful peace that allowed family gatherings to happen without drama. I watched her sometimes, wondering if she regretted the choices she'd made. But that wasn't my concern anymore. I had a company to run, a legacy to build. Maggie's story was hers to figure out. Today, I stood in my corner office, looking out over the city. TechVision had just been named one of the industry's most innovative companies. Our stock price had doubled. Employee retention was at an all-time high, but the numbers weren't what made me proudest. It was a culture we built, one that valued experience alongside youth, integrity over connections, substance over flash. I'd proven that a 52-year-old dinosaur could lead a tech company into the future. I thought back to that dinner where Maggie had laughed at my job loss. If I could go back and tell that defeated, humiliated version of myself what would happen next, I'm not sure he'd believe it. But maybe that's the point. We never know what we're capable of until we're forced to find out. My phone buzzed. Another meeting, another decision to make. I grabbed my jacket and headed out. There was work to do, and I'd never been more ready to do it. The journey from unemployed reject to CEO had taught me everything I needed to know about resilience, patience, and the sweet satisfaction of earning your place at the top.